This conference will now be recorded.
Hi Nagesh, good afternoon. Hi Abhay.
Yeah, hi Swapna. Good afternoon.
So Nagesh, I will give you the presenter rights.
Yeah, Swapnil, good afternoon.
Yeah, hi.
I would want, okay.
So I have given
You
you the
will
presenter
start
rights.
right away or? Hello?
No, I think the customers are yet to join, right, Abhay?
Yeah, there are few customers yet to join, so we will wait for a few minutes.
Okay, sure. So we will wait for next 5 minutes, Nagesh, then we will start.
No worries, no worries. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll just post the screen. Okay.
Sure.
Are you able to view?
Not yet. Now it is visible.
What you are saying? Can you tell me?
No, now it is visible.
No, what you are saying?
I am
what
seeing
slide you are seeing?
the Azure AWS GCP and its competitors.
Oops, sorry. I didn't want to start with that. Sorry, thanks. How do I build? Yeah. Now?
Now the Ingram Cloud virtual partner connection.
Yeah.
So Nagesh, what this is overall thing is that the customers from Sujata Computers will be joining the session in some time. At the
Okay.
end of the session, we will have the Q&A round also for the customers to ask the question, and then we will end the
I
session.
think if you are able to see my agenda now, are you able to see my agenda now?
Yes.
So these are all the
Yes.
things that I can cover it up in next 1.5 hour.
Sure, no problem.
I will leave it at here. Once you tell me to start, we'll start. Or you want me to go back one slide? I'm okay.
No, this agenda is also fine.
Yeah, this is sufficient, right? Let us not.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
be talking about little bit of Ingram, so and then move
Sure.
it to Azure Overview, and then a piece of best practices and things like that, and then AWS GCP.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Abhay, just let us know when to start. Meanwhile, if the customers who have joined right now, if they can just give you a small introduction about their company, their name, and what is their role in the company, so that would be great.
Yes, sure. We will wait for a few minutes because I'm also calling to the customers. So,
Sure.
just wait for a few minutes. Then we
No
can.
problem. Sure. Meanwhile, the people are Swapnil Dhobli from Ingram Micro team. I have my colleague Nagesh and Shraddha, who are our pre-sales consultant for Azure services, Azure cloud services, uh, and would be very happy to conduct this session for you people so that we can add some value in your discussions for day-to-day activity from migrating on-premise to cloud or any other workloads like backup or anything which you want to migrate it on cloud. So just a small request, if you can just, if the people are joining, so if you can just, if we can start with the small round of introduction for everyone who has joined right now, just their name, their company name, and what role they have in the company. So if someone can initiate from there, and then we will start the session accordingly.
Swapnil, I think you have to unmute them or something.
No, they can unmute themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, they can unmute themselves and can go ahead.
Team, probably make it more interactive. That would help us understanding your pulse.
So you guys can unmute yourself and can talk with regards to your name, your company name, and your role. and accordingly we will start the session post the round of introduction. Also, at the end of the session, we will have the question and answer round, the Q&A round. So you are be ready with your queries, doubts, so that at the end of this particular session, we will have the Q&A round, and we will try to answer your questions, queries, and try to clear your doubts also.
Yeah, hi Swapnil. I will start from my side.
Sure.
Yes. So myself, Abhay Pirapgol. So I'm a part of a Sujata Computers. I do take care of the pre-sales activities like on-prem and on-cloud solution design and understanding the customer's requirement and deliver them the solution. So for any requirement about the cloud, I will be my team and me will be attending your requirement. And yes, with the help of Ingram for the processing ahead to deliver the solutions, Ingram and Sujata Computers will help to build your IT on cloud or means migration from on-prem to on-cloud kind of a solution, and we will deliver it to you. So that's it from my side, and I welcome you all from Sujata Computers. So till the other customers joined, I will, as Swapnil said, please introduce yourself. That will help to keep the momentum on. Yeah, thanks, man.
So the people who have joined, they can unmute themselves and you can talk. Otherwise, what we can do, Abhay, just if you know, if your team can introduce themselves, who are the people who have joined from various organizations, just that way also we can proceed further with the introduction, and then we can start the session.
Yes, definitely. So I will take the name that will help. I think so.
Sure.
So Abhasai Tambe, if you can introduce yourself, that will be great. If you can hear us. Okay, so we will move on to Mr. Gajanan Ange. If you can introduce yourself, you just have to unmute it.
Hello. Abhay sir, my voice is clear. Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So my name is Gajanan Dange. I am working in a Precision Power Products India Private Limited as an IT admin. I am managing and handling all IT related activities in this organization.
That's great, sir. Welcome for the session.
Oh, thank you, sir.
So going ahead, Mr. Gaurav, you can introduce yourself. That will help. Okay, so I think I will move ahead to Mr. Sagar Gogavle. If you can unmute yourself and if you can introduce, if I'm audible.
Hi. Hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, my name is Sagar Gogavle. I am working in EQ Technology as a system administrator.
Okay, welcome, sir. Welcome. Nice to meet you. Okay, going ahead, Shraddha, Ms. Shraddha, if you can introduce yourself, you just need to unmute yourself, and if you can introduce. Okay, it's okay. So we'll go ahead. Mr. Suresh Rathod, if you can unmute yourself and if you can introduce that.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Welcome, sir.
My name is Suresh Rathod. I'm working Mahindra CI Forging. My role is system admin.
Great, sir. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the session.
Yeah.
Thank you. So going ahead, Mr. Tulshiram Tiple, if you can unmute yourself and if you can introduce yourself, that would be great. Okay, no issues. So we can, well, I think the customers are coming, so at least we can start.
So we can start the session.
Yes, so around 13 people are there.
So Nagesh, over to you. We can start the session, including us.
Thanks, Swapnil. Thanks. I didn't get the name. I'm sorry.
Abhay from Sujata Company.
Abhay. Yeah, Abhay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Abhay, for helping us getting through this. I am audible, right? I am clear in my mic.
Clearly.
Okay. Thanks a lot. See, first few slides may not be appropriate for our end customer, but still I would require them to know about Ingram as well. So I'm just getting a heads up here. And next, this session would be around an hour or so, hour or 10 hour, one and a half hour, something like that. We'll try and do as best as possible, depending on you coming back to me and things like that. And first half will be more of first 10-15 minutes will be more of Azure and Azure Overview, DR, and things like that. And then we'll try to dwell upon the comparison. I think Swapnil wanted me to look at that piece as well. So definitely that is a good view from Swapnil. So I thought let me put it across. So this is more of the agenda and what we'll be covering today in this session. So I'm going to the next slide here. So what is the journey that we talk about, the cloud journey, right? What really pain points or what are the blockers that we hit while we are doing cloud? Primarily more of an isolation or more of a control or more of a cost, right? These are the three kind of things that we hit a blocker when we are doing a journey to the cloud. So how do we really overcome, or what is it that we do is the all about, right? So I don't know why it's going back to the okay. So blockers and pain point, like I said, see, isolation is more of a security that we talk in internally when we are talking to our management or whenever the requirements are there. So it is more of a hardware isolation that we have one is required, and how do we achieve that? So a comprehensive security management is there with Azure. So those kind of things are the conversation one will go through. So that is bit of a challenge that we normally face. So I'm sure we can look at it. And control is more like what we are talking about, a more of a application optimized or certified hardware, which is a primary request from a customer point of view. So and those will also be addressed when we are doing the cloud piece. So a bit of this all put together we have already provided hardware and software licensing. How do I benefit? So there is something called Azure hybrid benefits. So I mean, from this slide, if I were to take 1 or 2 points or 3 points, that these are the 3 points that I will take, right? So I'm sure I cannot convince my manager or anybody I will go to cloud just like that, because there should be a benefit of my prior investment. I'm sure some of you would have done license plus software assurance where you can get Azure benefits, that is hybrid benefits on your SQL servers and Windows servers. So that you don't really need to license or buy additional licenses. So license cost is gone by. So you will only look at the compute network and storage, right? So that is where the piece of cloud journey would all about to start with. And coming to my Ingram numbers, this is more related to what we are and how we are spread across. So I'm sure if you call out Ingram, you will definitely see in multiple other cities and countries as well. So this is bit of that. I don't want to dwell more on here. And how Ingram is also enabled its infrastructure and things like that. This is more of that. And here also, I'm not dwelling more here, but I'm sure you can have a view of it so that you understand Ingram, because we are the master cloud service provider also. So you'll understand that engine as well. So that is where we are talking about. And this is our more of a product wise distributed across. So this is one where you can see all the products right from mailing and mailing collaboration and storage and things like that. So you can definitely see it under one umbrella. That is where in turn you can Sujata computers also can have the same piece enabled. So that is how I am trying to showcase here as well, because the moment you see this kind of environments, I'm sure, I hope you are seeing this screen as well. What screen you are watching, Swapnil?
Currently, Ingram Micro India by numbers.
Oh shucks, I've just moved ahead 1 minute. Okay. So are you? Let me also sync it up to this thing. Yeah. Like I said, this is the vision that we carry with Ingram Micro Marketplace, where most of the integration, right from marketing as well as from channel and vendors, all getting integrated. So this is our vision as a cloud service provider. So I just want you to take that piece as well. I think there is a little bit gap or disturbance, I suppose I should use. Okay. I hope you are seeing the cross-sell slide where we are talking about the collab. I think it has gone back. Sorry, it has gone back, right?
Yes, it has gone back.
Yeah. Whereas I'm still sticking on to here. Okay, let me let this slide get through.
Also, Nagesh, I think your voice is breaking a little bit. So,
How about now?
Little bit better, but if it could be more better.
1 minute. Let me try it out. 1 minute.
So currently, the cross-sell slide is there on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, if you could be a little bit louder, that will be helpful for the audience.
I just plugged in a different hardware. Is that okay now?
Now it is very, very much good.
Okay. Sorry
thank
about
you.
that. I will ensure that this is taken care henceforth. I'm sorry for that. Okay, I think we are in a cross-sell slide, right? Both of us, myself and you. So
Yes, yes.
we are talking about, see, it is more like when Ingram is able to provide, Sujata will be able to provide. That is the seamless that you are getting as a customer. So if you are opt for, if you are looking for some Dropbox, or if you are looking for some now floats or anything of that matter, you are just a call away to Sujata and be able to enable that particular service to you. So today I am related to Azure or NetMagic, IBM Cloud. So that is where I have put a box in it, so that I only talk about that. So otherwise also you can see in Gram as such, you'll be able to find multi other vendor lines adding up to the same place, and you'll be able to see a bigger marketplace. So likewise, Sujata will be able to help you in those area as well. So that is the thing that we are talking here now. So a bit of services details and benefits, a general overview that I'm talking about, which I think there is a little bit delay in getting the slide up. I have moved a slide and it is taking some time, I suppose. Yeah. So I'm talking about services details and benefits. So we do support so architecture and design, managed support and delivery. So this is more of an infrastructure as a managed services we do offer. So migration services also we do offer. It is not that I can come directly to it. It is more of a Sujata and I doing and enabling your services for this particular kind of environment. So that is how it is going to be. And with Ingram Cloud Professional Services, you get both managed and migration services enabled for you. So you can opt for those kind of environments as well. What is the value proposition we are talking about? We are a large dedicated sales team across and multi-vendor global ecosystem, end-to-end management, go-to-market. I mean, those kind of efforts are already put in place so that you don't really reinvent. You just put it in a marketplace and you are gone through. So this is more related to more of a marketing again, and I don't want to get into much of that. So we do have a internal dedicated team across. So if by chance somebody is not available on the phone, you can directly go on 24/7 links that I'm providing it here. So you can connect and check the services whatever you are looking at now. That was more of an Ingram piece where we are talking about how we are spread across and what we really do. So coming to the now the topic of Azure overview, right? Azure, once you think of an Azure, it is more like today the classic data center, right? If you see on your left, what we are seeing an hardware, virtualization, operating system, network, firewall, data, and application. What we are seeing in the right side, it is more of the same, but I'm showing the cloud when it is coming to hardware and virtualization. So those two pieces are taken away, right? So I am more focusing on application now. So how do I reach out that? So it's just a call or a click away when when you really want to have a virtual machine in place, and you can start building with that images. So when we say Azure, this is how I would typically see it as, because I don't see or I when you say some IT environments to be built, I typically say go to Azure. It addresses all the conversation. So this is how I typically see, because I'm still not ready, or I would not be interested to look at hardware and things like that. So a typical data center or a traditional data center that we can see it in Azure. So in different services. So today, if you call me, I would like to have a 2016 or a 2012 Windows Server. I can say immediately go with this image, and you are able to get both hardware, software license, and the data center itself. So that is how ease of Azure is that. Now coming to the baseline, what is the baseline today that we are talking? That is focus on application, right? Because today we know that this applications runs on this so and so hardware and things like that. But when I focus the application, I'm talking about high time availability and things like that. How do I achieve those kind of environments? That is the need of the hour for any business. So how best I can provide the service to the user, right? That is where we are talking about high availability and things like that. That is the more conceptual thought process or requirement thought process, I would call it as. So again, it is again more of a infrastructure as a service. When we talk about virtual machine and cloud services, we talk about platform as a service, or a website for that matter, or a Office 365 that modern platform as a service. So infra infra as well as software as a service that we gets covered, platform as a service gets covered. So that is how it is getting segregated now. Why we do more of Azure? See, typically, if you see, we would like to achieve the tier 7 thought process. I am sure some of you would be doing some no offsite DR plan. I mean, maybe there is a thought process, but nothing is happening. So some of you may be doing data backup with no hot site. So I'm sure again there is some inclination towards doing a backup, because the availability is requirement for that customer, I mean for that user or for that organization. So data backup with hot site, this is again a requirement, right? Like how fast you can bring back. So electronic vaulting, you can do encrypting and ensure that it is safe and secure when you are using that hardware for recovery and things like that. So point in time copies is one of the point where what time the disaster happened, at what time you want to retrieve it back and things like that. So transaction integrity, so you are not losing any of the transactions and things like that. So zero or near to zero data loss is also can be achieved, and highly automated business integrated solution. So these are the seven tiers that I would call it in a disaster recovery method. So what is that Azure provides is nothing but your Azure site recovery. So at layer 7, I'm talking about Azure site recovery. If all you have done this data backup with hot site and point in time copies, all those things will move to an automated business. It's not that I am coming just like that and getting Azure site recovery. It is that same piece that if you are doing backup, it is a good pointer. You are a good starter, and you are able to move from data backup with outside to point in time copies and things like that. So that is the journey that I still call it, and I'm sure it is not overnight we can achieve this site kind of a recovery. Definitely, if you have put data backups and point in time copies in place for your organization, I'm sure you can do the automation also in place. This is a bit of that, and we are talking about the same RPO RTOs that you would really want to look at it. That is the data lost and time to recover, right? And this is where I typically want my partner like Sujata or to give back to the customer the business time uptime for them to work on, because the business hours are more important, recovery time is more important. So how much time I can give it back to the customer on business hours, meaning to say there is no downtime or less downtime. So recovery time to recover is what we typically see it as. If you have calculated, okay, if there is a disaster and you want it to be back by 15 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hour, it's left to you at what point in time that you want to back and put the retention in place. So this is a bit more elaborate thought process that one should converse with your service provider, maybe Sujata here, and then take it forward. Otherwise, if you're not getting to this lot, then I would not be in a position to comment anything. But what I would say, any IT admin or any IT organization, I'm sure this discussion should be in place for them, because putting applications and their data in place and giving it in a timely manner and ensuring that check-in is in place. So I would typically say, please look out for this conversation and make it happen for your organization. And what we are talking, yes, there are certain organizations, they only do recovery to Azure or cloud migration or data recovery as a service, DRAS we call it as, recovery as a service. Just imagine how we have seen software as a service and things like that. We can also look at recovery as a service point of service sale, or you can write an SLA to your customer or to your service provider saying, I only look at you as a recovery as a service provider. It can happen because because you might be doing in-house methodology very much in place. Your primary data center is in-house, and you can always do a recovery site in Azure. So you can call it as recovery as a service to start. That is your hybrid journey, you can start off. So this is where the journey also starts off for you, not necessary to move away from things like that. So multi other environments in your setup, it could be Hyper-V to Hyper-V, or it could be an on-prem to Hyper-V and things like that. Here again, we are talking about multi other methods that it is already there. I know I am having VMware. Yes, you are eligible to go from VMware to Azure, or from VMware physical to VMware things. So this is where we are talking about high availability standards gets built within the ecosystem, and then we are talking about moving it to Azure, and from there on it is more of a automation and things like that. So what is Azure Site Recovery does all about is what we are seeing in this. So safeguard your applications, right? So I typically move from one primary site to recovery site and ensure that it is in place. So this is where we are talking about a VMware or a Windows Server method, but still the downtime and all we need to calculate. So I would still want you to look at this piece at a better thought process with your service provider, because if you discuss all these points, then only we'll be able to make more impact on recovery or something like that. So I would typically ask your provider, boss, I am having a Windows server, how do I ensure there is no downtime? Or when I'm not there, if there is a classic challenge coming in, how do I ensure it is being taken care and things like that. It can be as good as a 2 or 3 VMs or which is requiring uptime and things like that. So definitely you can do a passive failover and doing a site recovery there. Coming to Azure services and their offerings. So this is the beauty that we talk about in Azure. See, a classic example that we provide you is storage. I'm sure you guys will require, when it is a storage, the classic is I need to have a sandbox or an AS box or a LUN kind of terminology comes into place. But in cloud, we don't talk in that language. Rather, we just give an account, just a sign-in account like a subscription, and we end up giving you the entire storage for you. That meaning you can go do it as good as 1 TB or a 1 GB to unlimited kind of a thing. 10 TB you can sign up, and it is again a pay-as-you-go model. So these are the services by itself. I think in the first slide you saw that, right? We are not talking any hardware, we are not talking any traditional network or any jargon that we talk in a classic language. So here we are talking it as a service, storage as a service, active directory as a service. What is an active directory? Here we are talking about an identity management as a service, right? So I mean, these are the small pieces you can carry it within your environment and start utilizing it as a service, rather than going back and looking at, okay, I need to start run Windows server, and then top of it I need to do build that active directory, then I need to do MFA and things like that. So it is by the time you build that, you would have already done a week or so, but here on the day one, on the day first hour, you can start the service. That is the beauty of cloud and Azure as well, because it also ensures that whatever you are classically using it on your on-prem, you are able to see it on the cloud. So same pieces you'll be able to see it on the cloud. So this is more easier for you to grow and ensure optimization is also taken care. So what are the short and long term solutions for infrastructure guys that we talk about? I'm sure this is the classic method that we see in your organization. So I'm sure we would have built an Windows Active Directory and then connecting to Azure or something like that. If not, you might be doing that, or we request you to go in this method and then build your environments, right? So this is one of the shortest path that you can take it. And what is the longest path, or what is the way to go? So way to go is first build an identity channel or an identity provider within your organization for your organization, because once you do that, you will be able to build your multi-factor authentication, conditional access management, and things like that, right? And you can also build your identity protection and things like that. Why? Because you can also access your on-prem services. So Azure Active Directory, please understand, we are not just talking about Active Directory, we are talking about Azure Active Directory. So this again interconnect or integrated to your cloud services. It could be as good as your SaaS application. It can be as good as a Dropbox or a Salesforce, any public software as a service provider, right? Today it is more of that. You will not get a packaged application, so it is a SaaS application. How do I ensure that authentication or authorization is done to those applications or things like that? So that is the beauty, that once you are putting an identity in place for your organization, I'm sure that will go a long way for you to work on. So again, we are talking about bring your own device capabilities. Today's environment calls for it, and customers and partners getting integrated, that is also a layer that you want to ensure your customer or your partners have some accessibility, but with limited ones, maybe a read access or a write access, no delete access kind of, because Azure Activity Directory provides a role based access control, we call it as RBAC, right? So those pinpointly you can do things like that. So again, identity providers also like Okta or Ping, or here we are talking about Facebook and things like that. So this is the holistic view that one should carry for a long run. One should carry for a long run here, where in which we are talking about Azure Active Directory as a service to the organization. So once we build that, we will be able to provide I mean horizontal layer for your organization, connecting between on-prem or cloud, or maybe site-to-site connectivities that you have built and things like that. So it becomes a primary tool set for you to identify who has accessed and things like that. So security also becomes very effective for you to work on. So you don't really need to have multi user IDs for the same user and things like that. So you'll give one user ID for all application, and a single sign-on kind of a capabilities can be built across. So a bit of Azure host that we are talking about here. Again, how you populate, we are talking about in terms of what is the VM size, or what is the workload that you are looking at. We have categorized some 4 workloads here: general purpose, memory optimized, compute optimized, and storage optimized. General purpose is like your normal application, as good as small applications that you want to run. And memory is more of your SAP workloads that you internally have. And compute optimized is more of where you want more compute power and things like that, not the memory power. So it depends on your environments that you need to choose and then opt for it, because once you ask for a memory intensive, you should be aware which series should be taken. Here we are saying E and M series are designed for memory optimized, and general purpose is more of D series that we normally take. Compute is more of F series, and storage is more of L series. So I mean those are tightly integrated so that you don't really need to retweak to build that. No, I want more compute. So you definitely compute is there across, but what we mean to say more optimized method that you will get it once you want to look at that piece in place. So controlling those pieces are very much in place. Best practice for quickly deployment, that is, this is more of an internal that we talk about, building a resource group or a host group and things like that. These are the minimum requirements, a small requirement that you need to look at it. I'm just not going further there. And this again, like I said, D series, what is D series and M series and things like that. So you'll get different images across the pane. Cost optimization is one piece that we wanted to showcase. I have one slide for this. Here we are talking about just imagine how data can be integrated. Just think of this. You are able to see storage cost, you are able to see database cost, you are able to see virtual machine cost and compare it. So you'll be able to build this kind of environment when you are there on Azure, and definitely it will provide you a better analysis to your management, where you can showcase it. This month I had 2 servers, so this was the cost. Next month I can go for 3 servers and things like that. So definitely that conversation can be built across once you have this kind of data in place. So by default, these are all services already there on Azure. You just need to map and build this graph. So it is just a few clicks away that goes in, and you will be able to build across. I think any questions here? This was my last slide for my Azure overview piece, and we'll move on to the compare piece. Any questions? When I'm trying to change my add my slide here, if you have any questions, you can call out.
If anybody have any questions, they can unmute themselves and they can ask to Nagesh.
I'm just trying to get the other slide for me where we are talking about Azure and AWS. While that is coming up, if you have any questions, you can. Are you able to view my slide? I hope I have.
Nagesh, I think you can go ahead.
What is the slide that you are viewing now? Are you able to see my slide?
So we can see the cost management and billing cost analysis.
I think that is now.
No, there is no slide.
Yeah, no questions here on the earlier piece. So I can move on, right?
Sure, yeah, please move on.
Okay, what screen do you see now?
Azure, AWS, GCP and its competitors.
Okay, you are able to see that, right? That's really good. Thanks. Okay, a bit of know-how on what everybody is doing, I would call it today, because I do sell Azure, AWS, as well as GCP across the globe. Ingram does it, so I'm just telling, so that I would rather want you to know. Uh, I mean, I would call it as big picture, right? So I will just see what best we can look at it as. I happened. Are you able to see the screen? You are able to see the screen, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I've just changed my screen. Are you able to see?
Yes, enterprise IT, the traditional world.
Okay. Just understand what is our traditional world has been, right? So we have laptops, data center, and a packaged application and a custom application. That is our traditional data center, right? I hope everybody agrees for this. What is the new default? You're seeing the new default, right?
Yes, yes.
What is our new default in IT world? So let's see. We are having on-prem package application are becoming SaaS applications. Are we able to get this point? I mean, these are the pointers that one should look at a cloud methodology. So again, we have a public cloud platform and a custom application, right? So this is how it is changing. The new default is what is happening. So before going to any cloud, why I want to have you to have a big picture is something like when you plan to marry, you plan to look at what are all the options that I get, right? I mean, it's more like a marriage, I would call it as, because once you opt for that particular data center or a traditional cloud, I would require to know what all they are offering internally. That is where I'm trying to connect you here, and this is what our new default is all about, and who are all having what kind of availability and things like that. We can look at it. So cloud platforms are the new foundation for competitive advantage, right? So we are talking in terms of pure competitive advantage. Who can give what offering? That is what we will talk about. So a little bit of survey that we will do here. So just be with me. I'm sure there is more value in this particular conversation. So a cloud platform technology is more that we look at it as compute, run new applications, might run existing packaged or customer package. So that is where we are talking about a little bit more of a journey thought process. Store and access information, analyze information, right? And what else is required? Identity, machine learning, IoT, and more. So this category keeps on growing. So what we are talking, compute data and everything else. So that is what the technology, a simple summary that you need to look at, so that there is no, I mean, we always say rocket science and things like that. So don't get into that piece. So what is their cloud? What is that compute that we are talking? Compute is nothing but your VM image, which gets in infrastructure as a service. It can be a Windows VM or a Linux VM, create and use virtual machine. So again, in compute world, a little bit more matured is container as a service. So this is where we are telling a VM and a container things. These are all click and create and use that virtual machine. So these are cloud technology platforms, or whatever you can call it as in the compute world. So compute 2 is what? Compute 2 is platform as a service, right? So we don't manage the VM, provider will manage, application and supporting services will be done, like so SQL as a service or database as a service, or we saw right in the cloud offerings, CDN as a service, something like that. So platform as a service. So again, we are not maintaining the VM, so they are going to maintain. Again, a bit matured, function as a service. It's more higher configuration, but it finds the same path of platform as a service. So just invoke functions, you are able to use the services. So we call it as serverless computing. So a bit of thought process that you need to look at how you are deploying internally in the cloud. So what are all the data services that we see? Object storage, relational database, or a NoSQL database. So these are the data services that one will look at it as. Technologies and major vendors that we have to look at it, right? So this is where I was talking about a compare between all the 3 or 4 layers that we look at it. So now let's do Azure, Amazon, and Google, as well as Salesforce. So a bit of IBM is also there, but we'll come to that piece as well. So what is there in Microsoft Azure that today that we're talking? So we'll do that journey. In between you will be getting this slide, you'll be able to connect. So and Gartner Magic says that what is the best, right? You will always have this niche players, challengers, and visionaries, and as well as leaders. So ability to execute is one. I'm sure there are competitors in the market, local vendors in the market, so there is definitely be ability, but leading that particular kind of environment is what leaders is all about, right? So completeness of vision that carries by leaders, right? So that is how where vendors generally want to be there. So that is what we'll try and see how best we can look at it. So Microsoft Azure technologies, what and all is where, that is what we are going to talk. So in infrastructure as a service, we call it as virtual machine. I'm sure you guys are aware. So Microsoft also offers container as a service. In PaaS as I mean platform as a service, app service, service fabric, and Azure functions. So what is there in data? We are talking about blobs, just blobs, right? We are not talking anything else. So relational, we are telling SQL database, and NoSQL Cosmos DB. So this is cleanly designed, right? So for Azure, it is, these are the primary workloads that a conversation can build, and you can understand any conversation in the environment. So we have in Microsoft technology, Windows and Linux, so for virtual machines. So that was more of an Azure piece. So let's also see how one is doing the licensing bit. Please understand, from I think from last 3 or 4 years, Microsoft or any vendor is not looking at selling the licenses. What was happening? Vendor was selling the software and customer was using. So one time fee was happening. So open source software threatens the vendors. So that was happening right from day one. Now what is really happening now? See, the good piece is how they are making their money. So we just need to understand, vendor is building the software within himself and giving it to the customer. So customer is making the usage fee. So this is where the entire subscription game is happening. So you don't have to worry, but you need to understand, I'm not selling anymore a software, I am selling a service. That is what the service providers are telling to the customers. So please note that that is where we see the cost optimization kind of an environment. It is what you pay and what you get. Like I've utilized so and so and I'm able to get my ROI. So that is that fast you can look at it. So that is how money making kind of environments are built across. So an assessment from Microsoft point of view, strong platform as a service story is there. Azure begin with a pass, so it is more of that. Strong relationship, like channel partners are already there. So supports hybrid cloud, the one of the best first customer or first vendor to provide you a hybrid effective manner. So again, coming to the hybrid cloud methodology, right? So what is public cloud and on-premise? So a consistent application platform that we would require across an on-premise or a cloud is required, right? So we have Azure Stack, infrastructure as a service, or container as a service, platform as a function as a service, right? We already have it in place. So that I have already showcased to you. So consistent data platform that we are looking at, Azure SQL database, SQL Server. So this is where you will be talking about both public and on-prem. So consistent management is available. 1 minute. Sorry. So management and security is in place both in public and private, because on-premise we already know that you are there in that piece. So security center, Azure backup log and analysis. So consistent identity across. So we do have Active Directory and Azure Active Directory in place. So I'll showcase that piece as well for you. So I mean, just a illustration purpose that we should understand how public cloud and how it is getting integrated. So that was the one. So what is Amazon? In Amazon, what do we do? So we call it as Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2 instance, right? When Azure calls it as simple virtual machine. So whereas EC2 container as a service. So these are the small things that you can correlate. That's where we can look at which is better, or what is really going on in these platforms. That is what we need to understand. So Elastic Beanstalk is what Amazon calls it as platform as a service, whereas Azure calls it as app service or a service fabric, right? So Amazon calls Lambda as a function, so we just call it as Azure calls it as Azure functions. So and storage is S3. I think I'm sure everybody would have heard S3, simple storage service, whereas Azure calls it blob, just a storage bunch of disk, right? So that is what they call it as. And relational database service, RDS, Amazon calls it, and we call it as SQLi. V means Azure, so I'm more of Azure guy, so here I'm just talking V as a thing. So DynamoDB, no SQL DB. So Cosmos DB is what we talk about. So let's see what Amazon is doing in the market as an assessment. So viewed as a leader in IaaS because they are the traditionally less focused on PaaS, because leader because they were the first prime movers in the market, and now it is becoming more or less collaborating the entire services. Retailer and things like that. A technology company, not a software company. Focused on public cloud, wants customers to move from on-prem. So they are definitely wanting to do. Why they are collaborate as a simple thing? Because they are in their space. Amazon.com, AWS, cloud, Amazon video streaming and things like that. So these are they are already there in all verticals and segments. But what they do is what we need to know. So Amazon.com, Walmart kind of a thing, right? So AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google, IBM. So Amazon, Netflix and things like video, they call it as Amazon devices, they call it as Google, Samsung and things like that. So a whole food, groceries, or I think these are all more related to what Amazon is doing, but we would like to know what really are they and things like that. So this is a piece of that. And what we really want to know is what is the platforms that we want to look at it. Now let's see the Google piece, what they call it as. Google calls it as compute engine. Just imagine when I'm talking a virtual machine, they are talking as a compute engine or an elastic compute. So we call it as container service, they call it as container engine. So this is more of an engine company, I would call it as. But yes, definitely an app engine and a cloud function. So it is simple. Narratively we can look at it and then take it for the conversation. That's where I would say don't get into panic mode, because I always see my sales folks or anybody getting into a panic mode, because it's just the same service that we are offering. It is more of a flavored or a thought processive that one should look at it as a cloud storage or a cloud SQL cloud spanner. Just imagine a cloud spanner is the database of Google engine. So just imagine how the terminology has changed up. So a cloud data store. So what is a Google doing? Leader to market, because Amazon and Microsoft were first. So later to market, sorry. uh, because in the cloud space world, later to market we are talking about. So Google appears serious but cloud platform finally. So they do have some services in place, but they are catching up with their names and things like that, because certain things are not really there, which we are going to talk about. So which I'll be talking about that piece as well. So focused on public cloud but wants to move to the customers from on-prem. So they are also looking at that pieces. Now coming to data analytics, what they really are and what Azure is are, we call it as HD Insight and Azure Machine Learning, SQL Data Warehouse, Data Lake, and Power BI. So Amazon calls it as EMR, Amazon Machine Learning and Redshift, and for data warehouse, whereas QuickSight is data visualization. I'm sure Power BI, most of them you would have known. So it is very familiar tool set. So Google calls it as cloud data proc for Hadoop and Spark, whereas cloud machine learning for machine learning, and BigQuery, they call it as data warehouse as BigQuery, whereas we call it as data warehouse or data factory nowadays. So that is where we are moving towards. And cloud data lab, so visualization tool is their cloud data lab. So if you go to GCP, you'll be able to call it as cloud data lab, whereas I call it as Power BI or uh, um, power application and things like that. So why do we compare here with the Salesforce? See, just imagine Salesforce does not offer you anything in infra or container as a service. They're a platform provider directly. So you can decide now why do I am comparing a Salesforce, because you are choosing what you are looking at. So you are typically looking at platform as a service, nothing else that you're looking at. So force base database.com. So this is a typical view of Salesforce, or the compare that you can look at it as. Now Salesforce, what they do, sold with CRM, so there is no infra conversation there, often sold as an adjacent to salesforce.com CRM. So their main competitor or local or any CRM vendor lines, right? So enterprise developers, some apps can build slowly with point and click tools. So they're also developing to the platform, they're not developing to the infrastructure as a service. So they go by platform as a service. That is their proprietary thing. So proprietary environment, Salesforce from created tools, language and database. So they're not allowing you to do touch your any VM that you want to look and write. So they directly write to the platform. So just keep that in mind. Now coming to IBM and assessment, IBM began but half-heartedly. Again, we have seen that in the market, but they are the enterprise people that they want to look at it as, and they started with soft layer and in the mid. So again, it is halfly thought process. So faces big challenges like Google, and we have seen that, right? So nowhere is there. So they are still catching up. So VMware, I mean, when we are having a VMware conversation, what they are really trying to do, they are trying to marry up with Amazon or Azure and things like that, right? So they started hosters, or maybe a local hoster, like it could be as good as today Yota or next gen for that matter. I think I'm sure you might have heard of Yota or anything for that matter. So they try to go there and probably put a service there and start working it. So it provide infrastructure based as a vSphere and things like that for multi other data centers. So Pioneer partnered with Google for object storage and as well. So they are trying to juggle their workloads and things like that. So they will try to work here with AWS as well as Google and anywhere for that matter. So that is how they are spread across. So but we need to understand what they're really wanting to do. So they're becoming more like an hoster now. Now coming to the further assessment on hybrid cloud engagement, let's see who offers best on this particular thought process. Now again, VMware, what it does, it says VMware vSphere, whereas nothing else is there. So a public platform for enterprise, what we see. So cloud strength is more of an Amazon, Google, Salesforce. Enterprise strength is IBM, whereas Microsoft stays there. So it's a bit of summary on the cloud strength that we look at it as. So everybody having their own pie, but we need to understand who is doing what. So I'm sure by now we understand VMware, we understand Salesforce and things like that. So the further the big picture, this is the beauty that I would want you to look at it when you are opting for a cloud. This is where I would like to relook at it or check the default challenges that one is going through. So I would still want you to see this piece in a more detailed look. Why? Because who is doing what? So these are the main features or the main pieces that you need for an IT organization, right? Especially with cloud, you will be able to see what is Microsoft doing in this area. We have discussed this, right? Virtual machine, Cosmos DB, this is the layer that we are talking about, and it's already mapped, or we have a number, or we call it as a naming convention or a service in place. That is what I would call it as, because when we talk about Exchange Online, we are talking about collaboration, right? So here, see, if you see here, I'm email collaboration, productive CRM. So the same thing I'm pasting it on Microsoft. So what is really happening? Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, SaaS applications are put in place. So clients are Windows 10 and clients. So it's neatly, cleanly deployed. The new default is in place for when you talk about. Whereas what is Amazon doing? Amazon doesn't have any its own identity tool, whereas Azure has Azure Active Directory. What is there for collaboration in Amazon? Nothing is there. Workmail, they call it as for Exchange Online or whatever, and they don't have any productivity tool or a CRM tool or anything in there for collaboration piece. And what is their clients piece? They have a Kindle, and that's it. I mean, though they are first movers in the cloud, but they do not have at least few pointers that definitely it makes the full story to the client. So be aware of those kind of thought process. What is really happening? They are bringing identity from Okta or could be some other provider many other providers are there. So those pieces and bring it and then start those engagements. What is Google doing in this space? Google also doesn't have any identity which they have named, so again there is no point in getting into that. And what is their mailing? They have Gmail but no collaboration in place. Google Docs is in place and CRM is also not there. So I mean, choosing the right platform is what I would really have a full story is there with Azure, and I'm sure you will have a better thought process. And I'm sure Salesforce does not have many of them. They will not be looking at, but because their method of working itself is different, so you will not find many of them. So they, while CRM is their primary tool and nothing else is there, so that is the default platform that they have. Now IBM, coming to IBM, let's see, again they don't have identity. Again they are struggling with relational database DB2 that they are working with, and there is nothing in their left side. So mail, no collaboration, no corporate, nothing. I mean, IBM is still trying to build its own story, but this is what at the moment what I see it as. Again, VMware infrastructure as a service is the what they can provide. Apart from that, no DB, no pass, thought process, no identity, and things like that. So again, mailing, no, nothing. I mean, these are the stories of provider like VMware and things like that. So we just need to understand the new default is that, and then are we able to capitalize on that? So that is where I would like to conclude. We are seeing a huge change in enterprise platform, everything changing at the same time. So we're all choosing our partners for this new world. Choosing the right cloud platform is important. It's a marriage. So I think I made that point of marriage. So I mean, before you decide whether you want to go to Google or AWS for that matter, I think these are the 4 or 5 thought processes that you want to take it. So I think the decision is yours. So I think you will have to look at it as. I think that is all I had for this session. If you want, you can have anything on questionnaires, we can look at it and then take it up. I hope this was useful for you and it is effective in your day-to-day activities. Swapnil, are you there?
Yes, Nagesh, I'm there.
I hope it was useful. Let's see any questions here.
Yes, you have covered most of the points during the session, and I hope it was useful to the people who have joined this session today. I would request everyone whosoever has any queries, they can unmute themselves and they can ask the queries. We have next 5-10 minutes for the question and answer round. Once your questions are answered, your doubts are clear, then we will end this session. Yeah, someone unmuted themselves and then muted again.
Probably Abhay, if he has, we can start from Abhay and then probably go to the customer.
Yeah, Nagesh. So it was very in-depth pointed wise comparison between why the Azure is getting in the market, being an Microsoft product and the solution-based approach, because most of the customers are using the Microsoft technology and it is easy to get integrated with Azure Directory, which on-prem we can call as Active Directory and on cloud Azure. So that sync and identity or the policy management is a very good um, pointers you have given. So I will urge to the customers who are there right now who are attending this session. If you see the same scenario might be in your infrastructure, which helping your day-to-day business for your organization. So the Azure can help you to go into the all segments like machine learning, but the basic infra about the integration on the on-prem and on-cloud, the start of Azure will help you. So I will again urge you, if you have any question, if you can match, or if you want to discuss it right now or offline, it's okay. But as Nagesh is also there, Swapnil is also there, it will be very good question answer round. If you have any queries, you can just unmute yourself and you can ask it.
I have seen this is the most silent team that I'm seeing after a long time.
I think
I
most
mean,
of them have
probably
understood.
no, probably at least you can appreciate, if not, that it was worth or whatever. Because I do understand the challenges one is going through day in, day out, because they would have set up their in-premise and not connecting what would be the method and things like that. I'm sure there is a lot of conversation, but I don't know why they are not able to call out, or like as you said, it is fully understood or
Yeah, maybe they have understood your session fully, or and they are trying to grasp all the things which you have told during the session.
yeah. Any question, I mean, it could be as silly or anything. We are not going to scrutinize anything on that particular question. Please call out, because I'm sure this is the connect piece as well, because who is doing what and how we can ensure that you are optimizing your environments. I'm sure Abhay will definitely handle those conversation, but anything out of the box, please call out. I'm there for the next 3 to 5 minutes, and then we can wind up.
Yes, so basically most of the customer currently is requiring some kind of cloud solution, because due to this work from home kind of a solution
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
So if anybody has a question that
I think, see, if that is the case, probably I'm sure you start your journey with Azure Active Directory, forget everything, where your compute and where your servers are residing. I'm sure because trust me, today my journey has been more of an Office 365, Microsoft, earlier to Windows Server and things like that. I've been the same journey, but I'm sure if you have analyzed your Office 365 environments, it is becoming more plug and play for you. So like you can build virtual desktops. I have done a good virtual desktop session. That is also really good environment to build in this kind of environments where pandemic is more conquering. And to start off, I have seen that any hybrid is more like Office 365, Azure AD, and then infrastructure, because directly going to infrastructure will not lead any conversation. And hybrid or a disaster recovery, I think we initially started with a disaster recovery. That should be the pointer for you to start your journey to the cloud. Don't go overboard until I will move everything to the cloud and make a noise there. Don't do that. Your earlier investments are also benefited, or there will be an ROI on top of it. So don't get into that. I would rather do an Azure Active Directory, connect those pieces, build a role-based kind of an activity to the organization, and showcase the security level as well with Azure Active Directory. Then you start building the VPN or anything for that matter, and you are good to go.
But we can apply all this group policy via Azure Active Directory, or we have to create a separate VM for that.
One method is, if you have joined it to a domain directory, then you can put the policy. Otherwise, you will have to add an Intune to it to manage your devices, where you can monitor those devices.
So how Intune works? Can you tell?
It is more of a MDM solution, where we are going to connect or register your laptop to the Azure Active Directory. Once you register, I'll be able to view your device pulse and things like that, and then put the policies that you want to work on. It is, you will get a management view in Azure.
And so what license is required for it?
Per
For
device
it,
or per user based license.
So dedicated Intune license are there, or we have to purchase a E3 or this
See,
license?
that is where the conversation can be as good as a you what all you want to do. So there is a silo application in Tune. There is an Intune built application like Enterprise Mobility Suite. We call it as EMS3 or EMS5, where we are talking about endpoint security, Azure Defender. We are also talking having Azure Active Directory in place, identity management or identity protection. It is part of EMS as well. Or you want to only do Intune, there is a separate SKU for Intune. So both conversations are there, or SKUs are available.
Okay. Okay. So I have one requirement. We'll connect with Swapnil. So we'll discuss it later.
Definitely, sir. I because that is the lighter piece that if you are having a Office 365, for me it is easier to build a single sign-on for you or an identity solution for you. Not nevertheless, but you would have understood a bit of cloud or a SaaS application. So that is where we say that path is easier to work on. Otherwise, if you have done your infrastructure pieces, I'm sure this is not any rocket science or anything. It just as is kind of, it is bit conversations or nomenclatures are changing. So that is all I would call out.
Okay. Thank you.
so if anyone has any query or anybody want to discuss, you can discuss with your respective salesperson, no issues in that, then we can revert you back. That option is also good to go. Or if you
Oops,
want to
sorry.
right away, then we can discuss. Team is there.
uh, Swapnil, anything you can take it forward, I can leave. I hope you can evaluate and share it across among, so that we understand how we can take it forward. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think no one has any question or queries. So Abhay, if we can, if you're okay, then we can end the session right now, or we can give more 2-3 minutes. Ask the question.
Okay, I will ask you one question. I think, hope that will be helpful rather. How many of you have implemented identity in your organization is one question. And if you can give a feed of, was this session useful? Was it helpful? Either one question you can opt and call out here for next 1 or 2 minutes if you really want it to be. How many of you have done identity in your organizations? I think, I don't know. Hope they are there in the calls.
We have Active Directory in our office in Sujata.
Okay, that's really good. Nice to hear that.
Also, we have our tally backup on Azure, daily
Oh,
tally backup.
that's really great. Nice to hear that. Thanks a lot. Anything that you want to do further?
No, we are just I am teaching the same Azure Mars agent to Azure backup to our customers.
Okay.
So
Hope the
also,
session was useful.
yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, then I will call out. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot
Thank
for
you.
your patience listening me. And you can reach me at any time with Swapnil so that I understand you better. That's where I'm not leaving my number and all. So it's easier for us to connect with Swapnil and then understand the conversation.
Right.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Thanks very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.